The stars looked different from the observation deck of the Earth Defense Force ship Intrepid. Lieutenant Commander Alan West stood with his hands behind his back, watching the empty space before them. This was the farthest any human military vessel had traveled from Earth. They were making history, but Alan felt only worry in his stomach. Nervous, West? Captain Olivia Franklin stepped beside him. She was shorter than Alan, but carried herself with such confidence that most people forgot this fact. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her uniform was perfectly pressed despite the 2-week journey. "Just thinking about what might be waiting for us, Captain," Alan replied. Captain Franklin nodded. "First contact scenarios rarely go according to plan. That's why we're here, to make sure our diplomats have protection." The Intrepid was escorting Earth's first official diplomatic mission to meet the Galactic Confederacy. After decades of distant observations and cautious signals, the aliens had finally invited humanity to talk. The diplomatic vessel Handshake traveled alongside them, carrying ambassadors, linguists, and cultural experts. "Captain to the bridge," the ship's communication system announced. "Unknown vessels detected." Alan and Captain Franklin exchanged looks before rushing to the bridge. The main view screen showed 2 objects approaching, one massive ship with smooth, curved lines that seemed to shimmer with an inner light, and a second, darker vessel with sharp angles and protruding weapons. "Report," Captain Franklin ordered as she took her seat. Communications Officer Lisa Reyes turned from her station. "The larger vessel is broadcasting Confederacy identification codes, Captain. It matches the diplomatic contact information we were given. The second ship is unknown." "Life signs?" "Different from human baseline, but yes, both ships are crewed," replied Science Officer Ben Murphy. His fingers moved quickly over his console. "The Confederacy ship is hailing both us and the unknown vessel. Should I put it through?" "On screen." Franklin nodded. The view screen shifted to show an alien with blue-gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Small tentacles framed what appeared to be a mouth. The alien wore an ornate uniform with symbols Alan didn't recognize. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien spoke, its words translated by the computer. "I am Admiral Krazes Thorn of the Pelagian Fleet, representative of the Galactic Confederacy. We welcome you to—" A blast of energy cut across the screen and the alien was thrown sideways. Alarms blared on the Confederacy ship. "We are under attack," the alien shouted. "The Vexillian vessel is firing without provocation." On the view screen, they could now see the dark ship launching energy weapons at the Confederacy vessel. The diplomatic ship was clearly not designed for combat. Its shields flickered under the assault. "Red alert, battle stations," Captain Franklin ordered. "Shields up, weapons online." The bridge erupted into activity. Alan moved to the tactical station, checking weapon systems and shield status. "What about the Handshake?" Lisa asked. "They're a civilian vessel. They have minimal shields and no weapons." Captain Franklin's face hardened. "Order them to fall back to minimum safe distance. We'll protect the Confederacy ship." Alan looked up from his console. "Captain, our weapons technology is untested against either of these alien vessels. We don't know if we can make a difference." "We're about to find out, Lieutenant Commander," she replied. "Plot an intercept course. We can't let humanity's first galactic introduction be standing by while diplomats get murdered." The Intrepid surged forward, positioning itself between the attacking vessel and the damaged Confederacy ship. The enemy vessel, the Vexillian ship as the alien had called it, seemed momentarily confused by the human intervention. "They're scanning us," Ben reported. "Let them look," Captain Franklin said. "Open a channel." When Lisa nodded, Franklin spoke clearly. "Attention, unknown vessel. This is Captain Olivia Franklin of the Earth Defense Force ship Intrepid. Cease your attack immediately or we will respond with force." The only answer was a burst of energy that slammed into the Intrepid's shields. The bridge shook violently, and several crew members were thrown from their stations. "Shields at 64%. Alan called out, "That was just one hit. Return fire, all weapons." Franklin ordered. The Intrepid launched missiles and energy beams at the Vexillian ship. Some impacts were absorbed by their shields, but several seemed to connect with the hull. Direct hits, Alan reported. But minimal damage to their systems. Another blast hit them, stronger than the first. A power conduit exploded at the rear of the bridge, showering sparks across the deck. Emergency systems kicked in, suppressing the small fires that started. "Shields at 31%, Alan shouted over the noise of alarms. "One more hit like that and we're in serious trouble." Captain Franklin grabbed the arms of her chair as the ship rocked again. "Status of the Confederacy vessel?" "Their main power is failing," Ben replied. "Life support is minimal. They can't take much more." Franklin tapped her comm badge. "Engineering, I need options." Chief Engineer Doug Peterson's voice came back, punctuated by the sounds of his team working frantically in the background. "We can't match their firepower, Captain, but we might be able to outrun them." "The Confederacy ship can't run," Franklin said. There was a pause before Peterson replied. "Then we take them with us. We have the tractor beam modifications we were testing. It wasn't designed for a ship that size, but it might work long enough to get us out of here." Captain Franklin looked at the tactical display, studying the positions of all three ships. "Where can we go that would give us time to regroup?" Alan pointed to the screen. "The moon. We could use it for cover while we figure out next steps." "Do it," Franklin ordered. "Engage tractor beam and get us to the dark side of the moon." The Intrepid maneuvered closer to the damaged Confederacy ship as the engineering team activated the experimental tractor beam. The energy field stretched out, enveloping the much larger alien vessel. "Tractor beam engaged," Peterson reported. "But it's drawing power from our shields. We're down to 18%. Full thrust to lunar orbit," Franklin commanded. "Best possible speed." The Intrepid strained under the combined mass, its engines glowing bright as they pushed both ships toward Earth's moon. The Vexillian vessel fired again, but the shots went wide as the human ship's evasive maneuvers threw off their targeting. "They're pursuing," Alan reported, watching the enemy ship adjust course to follow them. "We just need to reach the moon's shadow," Franklin said, her eyes fixed on the view screen where the gray surface of the moon grew larger. With a final burst of speed, the Intrepid dragged the Confederacy ship into the shadow of a large crater on the far side of the moon. The tractor beam flickered and died as they came to a relative stop. "Kill all non-essential systems," Franklin ordered. "Minimal power signatures only. Let's hope they can't find us easily." As the lights dimmed on the bridge, Alan looked at the damage reports flooding his console. "Captain, we have hull breaches on decks 3 through 5. Emergency force fields are holding, but we've lost 40% of our weapon systems. Engineering reports the main power coupling is damaged." Captain Franklin stood, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead she hadn't even noticed receiving. "Get me damage reports and casualty numbers," she ordered. "And someone explain to our new friends that we're trying to help them." Admiral Krasathorn's voice came through the comms, weaker than before. "Your intervention was unexpected. Our primary systems are failing. We require a shipyard for repairs." "Ma'am," Chief Engineer Peterson called from engineering, "we don't have time to reach a shipyard. That enemy vessel will find us in under an hour." Captain Franklin's eyes narrowed as she made her decision. "Then we repair here. Prep the EVA teams. We're going to fix both ships before that Vexillian vessel finds us." The bridge crew stared at her in disbelief, but Alan saw the determination in her face and knew she meant every word. "You heard the captain," he said, standing. "We repair here now." The cold silence of space surrounded Lieutenant Susan Miller as she pushed away from the Intrepid's airlock. 5 other engineers in bulky EVA suits followed her. They each carried repair tools and materials, propelling themselves with small bursts from their maneuvering packs. "Stay close and watch your oxygen levels," Susan said over the comm link. "We have 40 minutes to seal the hull breaches before the enemy finds us." Inside the Intrepid, Chief Engineer Doug Peterson coordinated the repair teams. "Miller, start with the weapon systems on the port side. We need at least half our firepower restored." "Copy that," Susan replied. She motioned to 2 of her team members. "Sam, Kelly, you're with me. The rest of you begin sealing the hull breaches on deck 4. As the humans split into teams and began their external repairs, Admiral Krasathorn watched from the viewing port of his damaged ship. The Pelagian leader's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of extreme confusion in his species. They are exiting their vessel during battle conditions? He asked Captain Franklin, who had boarded the alien ship to coordinate their joint defense. Not exactly during battle, Franklin replied. But yes, we're making external repairs while we have this brief window of safety. The Admiral's mouth tentacles twitched. This is not done. Repairs of this nature are conducted at shipyards after battle. Alan West, who had accompanied the captain, stepped forward. With respect, Admiral, we don't have time to reach a shipyard. The Vexillian ship will find us soon. Our only chance is to make both ships battle-ready again. Krasthorn turned all 4 eyes toward the human officer. You misunderstand. Such repairs are impossible during combat conditions. Our Confederacy engineering protocols forbid it. Perhaps we could show you our way, Captain Franklin suggested. We'll need to coordinate anyway if we're going to fix both ships. The Admiral hesitated, then gave the Pelagian equivalent of a nod, a sideways tilt of his head. I will alert my engineering team, but I do not believe your methods will work on our technology. Outside in the vacuum of space, Susan and her team had reached the damaged weapon systems. A direct hit from the Vexillian ship had melted through the outer plating and severed power conduits. This is bad, Sam said, examining the twisted metal. We'd need a full replacement in normal circumstances. Susan studied the damage, then checked her toolkit. We don't have normal circumstances or spare parts. We'll need to reroute power through the secondary systems. She tapped her comlink. Chief, the main power coupling for the port weapons array is fried. We need to bypass it. Can you use the emergency shunt system? Peterson asked. Negative, that's damaged too. Susan thought for a moment. But if we cannibalize the non-essential systems on Deck 6, we might have enough material to create a bypass. There was a pause before Peterson responded. Do it. I'll send another team to help. Meanwhile, on the Pelagian ship, a group of human engineers had joined the alien crew. The Pelagians stared in fascination as the humans examined their technology. Your power distribution is amazing, Engineer Rick Jones said, studying the glowing pathways that ran through the alien vessel's walls. But these connection points are completely exposed. One hit, and the whole system fails. The Pelagian engineer, whose name sounded like clicking gears when pronounced, responded through a translator. This is by design. When damaged, the entire system shuts down to prevent cascade failures. Repairs are conducted after battle when safe. Rick shook his head. We don't have that luxury. We need redundant systems and bypasses. He reached into his toolkit and pulled out a small device. This is an emergency power bridge. We use it to jump damaged circuits. He placed it against the wall where the power pathways had gone dark. The device lit up, and a small section of the alien technology began to glow again. The Pelagian engineer's eye stalks extended in surprise. You restored partial function with primitive technology? It's not pretty, but it works, Rick replied with a shrug. Now let's see about getting your weapons back online. Back outside the Intrepid, Susan's team had made progress. They had removed panels from non-essential areas of the ship and were using them to rebuild the damaged weapon housing. Kelly was cutting a power conduit from a storage area, carefully removing it for transplant to the weapon system. This is like performing surgery on the ship, Sam commented as he held a section of plating in place while Susan welded it. That's exactly what it is, Susan agreed. The ship is wounded, and we're the doctors. Inside the Pelagian vessel, Admiral Krasthorn had gathered with Captain Franklin and several officers from both ships. The alien leader seemed disturbed by what he was seeing on the monitors. Your people are attaching primitive metallic patches directly to our quantum-stabilized hull materials, he said to Franklin, his mandibles clicking in agitation. It cannot possibly hold. The composite adhesive our engineers are using should create a molecular bond with almost any material, Franklin explained. It might not be pretty, but it will hold long enough. And these bypasses your people are creating, the Admiral continued. They violate all safety protocols. The power fluctuations could damage more systems. Alan stepped forward. Admiral, with respect, we don't have the luxury of following protocols. That Vexillian ship will find us in less than 30 minutes. We need both ships operational enough to fight or run. The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. You humans approach problems differently than any species we have encountered. It is concerning. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Officer Lisa Reyes monitored the enemy ship's position. The Vexillian vessel is conducting a systematic search pattern. At their current speed, they'll reach our position in 22 minutes. Back in space, Susan and her team had finished their repairs on the weapon system. The bypass they created was a mess of cables and patched conduits, but it channeled power where it needed to go. Testing power flow, Susan reported, connecting the final circuit. The weapon's housing hummed to life, lights blinking as systems rebooted. We have approximately 70% function restored to the port weapons array. Good work, Miller. Peterson's voice came through. Now get to the starboard side. We need those thrusters operational too. Susan checked her oxygen supply. We've got 30 minutes of air left. It's going to be close. On the Pelagian ship, the human engineers had made similar progress. Working alongside their alien counterparts, they had created unconventional solutions to the ship's problems. Power was flowing to essential systems again, and the weapons were partially operational. Captain Franklin stood on the bridge of the alien vessel, watching the repair efforts on a monitor. Admiral, what's the status of your shields? Our shield generators are intact but cannot draw power from the main systems, Krasthorn replied. The connection pathways were severed. Franklin tapped her comm badge. Peterson, we need a team to repair the shield generators on the Pelagian ship. Already on it, Captain, came the reply. Miller is finishing up our weapons, then she'll move to help with the alien shields. The Admiral watched this exchange with growing interest. Your people are very adaptable. It's how we've survived, Franklin said simply. Humans have always had to fix things with limited resources and time. Alan checked the tactical display. Captain, the enemy ship has changed course. They're heading toward our quadrant faster than expected. Time to intercept? Franklin asked. 15 minutes, Alan replied. Sooner than we thought. Captain Franklin's expression hardened. Then we work faster. All repair teams, we've got 15 minutes before company arrives. Prioritize weapons, shields, and engines. As the countdown began, both ships' crews raced against time. The Pelagians, initially skeptical, began to adopt the humans' urgency and improvisation. Together they prepared for the coming battle not by following protocols or manuals, but by adapting, improvising, and overcoming. Time was running out. Susan Miller pushed herself through space toward the Pelagian ship, the last of her oxygen reserves blinking in warning on her suit display. Behind her, the Intrepid looked like a patchwork quilt of metal plates and emergency seals, but it was combat-ready again. Chief, we've done all we can on our ship, she reported to Peterson. Moving to help with the alien shield generators now. Good, Peterson replied. The enemy will be here in 10 minutes. The Pelagian shields are our priority now. Susan and 2 other engineers approached the massive alien vessel. Up close, its design was even more strange. The hull seemed to ripple, like water in certain lights, despite being solid. Small hatches opened on the side of the ship as they approached, and Susan recognized the signal to enter. Inside the Pelagian airlock, the atmosphere changed around them as the chamber pressurized. Susan kept her helmet on until the air quality indicators turned green, then removed it with a hiss. A Pelagian engineer waited for them, its blue-gray skin reflecting the emergency lights. The shield generator chamber is this way, it said through a small translation device. We have limited time, Susan nodded. Lead the way. The alien corridors were wider and taller than human ships, with curved walls that seemed to flow together. The shield generator room was massive, a cavernous space, with a glowing sphere suspended in the center, surrounded by control panels. This is unlike anything I've ever seen, Sam whispered, staring at the technology. The Pelagian engineer pointed to several darkened sections around the sphere. These connection nodes failed during the attack. Without them, power cannot reach. The shield projectors. Susan studied the design, then looked at her toolkit. The materials are different, but the principle should be the same. We need to create a bridge between these nodes. She turned to her team. Sam, get those conduit adapters we salvaged from Deck 6. Kelly, help me map the power flow pattern. On the bridge of the Pelagian ship, Captain Franklin and Admiral Krasthorn watched the tactical display as the Vexillian vessel drew closer. The enemy ship was massive, at least 3 times the size of the Intrepid. 7 minutes until they reach our position, Alan reported. The Admiral's 4 eyes focused on different screens simultaneously. Your repair efforts are impressive, but incomplete. We cannot withstand another direct assault from a Vexillian dreadnought. We don't need to win, just survive, Franklin replied. If we can surprise them with enough firepower to damage their engines, we can escape. A bold strategy, the Admiral said, his voice translator unable to hide the doubt in his tone. In the shield generator room, Susan and her team worked frantically alongside the Pelagian engineers. They had created makeshift connections between the damaged nodes, using a combination of human technology and alien materials. The power pathways are similar to our quantum capacitors, but the flow direction is reversed, Susan noted as she connected another adapter. If we adjust our bridge connectors to account for that, we might get better efficiency. The Pelagian engineer watched with growing interest. You understand our technology quickly for a species that has not yet developed quantum stabilization. We've had to understand things quickly to survive, Susan replied, not looking up from her work. Pass me that coupling tool. As they worked, the ship's communication system announced, 4 minutes until enemy contact. All crew to battle stations. In the engine room of the Intrepid, Chief Engineer Peterson was making final adjustments to the power distribution system. The repairs they had made were holding, but barely. He wiped sweat from his forehead and looked at the readouts. Weapons at 65% capacity, shields at 53%, engines at 70%, he reported to the bridge. It's not pretty, but we're combat ready. Acknowledged, came the reply from Lieutenant Commander West, who was now back on the Intrepid's bridge. Stand by for possible emergency power needs during battle. Peterson nodded to his team. You heard the man. Be ready to reroute power wherever it's needed most. On the Pelagian ship, Susan had made a breakthrough. The makeshift connections between the shield nodes were accepting power, and the central sphere was glowing brighter. It's working, she exclaimed as the control panels began to light up. Shield power is building. The Pelagian engineer made a series of clicking sounds that the translator didn't catch, some kind of expression of surprise or relief. You have accomplished in minutes what would take our repair crews hours under ideal conditions. Necessity drives innovation, Susan replied with a tired smile. Let's hope it holds. 2 minutes until enemy contact, the announcement came. On both ships' bridges, crews prepared for battle. Captain Franklin had returned to the Intrepid, leaving Alan to coordinate with the Pelagians. All hands, battle stations, Franklin ordered. Weapons crews stand by. Engineering, give me everything you've got for the first salvo. The patched-together systems of both ships hummed with power. Human ingenuity had merged with alien technology in ways neither species had imagined possible before. It wasn't elegant or by the book, but it was functional. 1 minute, the tactical officer reported. Franklin opened a channel to the Pelagian ship. Admiral, are your weapons ready? Yes, Captain, Krasthorn replied. Thanks to your engineers, we have 48% of our offensive capabilities restored. It is unexpected. Sometimes the best solutions are unexpected, Franklin said. We'll follow your lead on the attack plan. The Admiral's voice came back with newfound respect. Very well. We will target their propulsion systems first. Your ship should focus on their weapons arrays. Understood, Franklin acknowledged. Good hunting. The lunar shadow that had hidden them was about to end as the moon's slow rotation brought their position into view. The Vexillian ship would spot them any second. 30 seconds. The tactical officer counted down. In the shield generator room, Susan and her team made final adjustments. The shield power was now at 60%. Not ideal, but better than nothing. That's all we can do, she told the Pelagian engineer. The rest is up to the bridge. The alien placed a 3-fingered hand on her shoulder in what appeared to be a gesture of gratitude. Your methods are unorthodox but effective. The Confederacy will want to learn from your people. Let's survive this first, Susan replied with a grim smile. Then we can talk about cultural exchange. 10 seconds, came the announcement. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Captain Franklin straightened in her chair. This would be humanity's first real space battle against an alien force. History was about to be written one way or another. Shields up. Weapons hot, she ordered. Let's show them what humans can do. The Vexillian dreadnought appeared exactly as predicted, its massive silhouette, eclipsing the stars as it rounded the lunar horizon. It approached cautiously, scanning for the damaged vessels it had attacked earlier. What it found instead were 2 ships. One human, one Pelagian, with weapons charged and ready, shields glowing with power, and crews united by shared ingenuity and determination. The enemy ship hesitated, confused by sensor readings showing 2 fully powered vessels where it expected to find crippled prey. They're scanning us, the science officer reported. I think we've surprised them. Captain Franklin allowed herself a small smile. Good. Surprise is one advantage I'll gladly take. Prepare to fire on my mark. The moment of truth had arrived. The jury-rigged repairs and improvised solutions were about to be tested in battle. Human ingenuity versus alien technology. The makeshift versus the mighty. They're charging weapons, the tactical officer shouted. Captain Franklin's eyes narrowed. Fire! Both ships fired at once. The Intrepid launched a barrage of missiles and energy beams, while the Pelagian vessel released what looked like spheres of blue light that streaked toward the enemy. The combined attack hit the Vexillian ship at multiple points, causing explosions across its dark hull. Direct hits, shouted the tactical officer. Their forward shields are down to 75%. Captain Franklin nodded. Keep firing. Target their weapon systems. The Vexillian ship recovered quickly from its surprise and returned fire. A massive energy beam lanced out, striking the Intrepid's port side. The ship shook violently, and warning alarms blared throughout the bridge. Damage report! Franklin called out. Port shields failing, came the reply. Hull breach on deck 5. Emergency force fields are holding, but we've lost the port weapons array again. In engineering, Chief Peterson felt the ship buck beneath him as systems overloaded. Sparks flew from a nearby console, and smoke began to fill the room. Fire suppression. Systems online, he ordered, then tapped his comm badge. Bridge, the jury-rigged power coupling couldn't handle that hit. Port weapons are offline, and we're losing power to decks 4 through 7. Can you fix it? Franklin asked, her voice calm despite the chaos. Peterson looked at the melted mass of cables and adapters that had once been their makeshift repair. Not from in here. We'll need another EVA team. On the Pelagian ship, Admiral Krasthorn watched as his vessel absorbed hits from the Vexillian weapons. Their shields repaired by the human engineers were holding better than expected. Return fire, he ordered. Target their propulsion systems as planned. Another volley of blue energy spheres shot from the Pelagian ship, most hitting their target. The Vexillian vessel's engines flickered but remained functional. Alan West, who had remained on the Pelagian bridge as liaison, studied the tactical display. Their shields are adapting to your weapons, he observed. We need to vary our attack. Pattern. The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. A wise suggestion. Weapons control. Adjust frequencies on all offensive systems. Back on the Intrepid, Captain Franklin was facing a difficult decision. We can't win a prolonged battle like this. Our repairs are failing faster than we can fix them. The Pelagian ship is holding better than we are, Lisa Reyes noted. Their shields are still at 42%. Franklin nodded. Then we need to buy them time to do more damage. She opened a channel to engineering. Peterson, I need engines at full power. We're going to make a run at the enemy ship. Captain? Peterson sounded concerned. Our shields can't take another direct hit. I know. she replied grimly. But we can distract them while the Pelagian ship targets their engines. Get those EVA teams ready too. We'll need repairs as soon as possible. Understood, Peterson acknowledged. Engines coming up to full power. The Intrepid surged forward, accelerating toward the much larger Vexillian vessel. The enemy ship adjusted its firing pattern, focusing more of its weapons on the approaching human vessel. Evasive maneuvers, Franklin ordered. Make them work for their shots. The Intrepid began to weave and roll, making itself a difficult target. Some enemy fire missed, but enough connected to cause serious damage. Shields failing, the tactical officer reported, as another hit rocked the ship. Down to 12%. In the shield generator room of the Pelagian ship, Susan Miller felt the battle raging around them. The makeshift repairs they had created were being tested to their limits. The shield harmonics are destabilizing, the Pelagian engineer told her. Your connections cannot handle this level of power for long. Susan looked at the readouts, thinking quickly. We need to redistribute the load. Can we route some of the power through secondary systems? The alien hesitated. That is not how our technology is designed to function. Today is all about trying new things, Susan replied. She pointed to a series of unused conduits. What do these connect to? Environmental control systems, the Pelagian answered. They are separate from defensive systems by design. Susan smiled. Not anymore. Help me connect these pathways. We're going to use everything this ship has. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Captain Franklin watched as her ship took another hit. The lights flickered, and several systems went offline. Main power. Failing, reported the engineering officer. Switching to backups, Franklin opened a channel to the Pelagian ship. Admiral, how are you doing over there? Better than expected, Krasathorn replied. Your engineers' repairs are holding. We have damaged the enemy's port weapons cluster. Good, Franklin said. We've got their attention now. Make your shots count. The Intrepid continued its dangerous dance with the Vexillian ship, drawing fire while the Pelagian vessel focused its attacks on the enemy's engines. It was a desperate strategy, but it was working. The Vexillian ship's movements were becoming sluggish as its propulsion systems took damage. In engineering, Peterson was organizing another EVA team. We need to get out there and fix the port weapons array, he told them. Yes, I know there's a battle going on. That's exactly why we need those weapons back online. One of the younger engineers looked nervous. Sir, protocol says no EVA during active combat. Peterson laughed. Kid, we left protocol behind hours ago. Now suit up. On the Pelagian ship, Susan and the alien engineers had completed their modifications. They had connected the shield generators to multiple systems throughout the ship, spreading the power load. Activating now, Susan said, crossing her fingers. The shield generators hummed louder, and the blue glow around them intensified. On the tactical displays, the shield strength jumped from 42% to 67%. It worked, Susan exclaimed. The Pelagian engineer made a sound that might have been amazement. You have improved our design. This should not be possible. Never tell a human something's impossible, Susan replied with a grin. We take it as a challenge. Outside the ships, the battle continued. The EVA team from the Intrepid worked on the damaged weapons array. Even as energy beams and missiles flew around them, they moved with practiced efficiency, replacing damaged components and rerouting power. This is insane, one of them commented as a nearby explosion illuminated their work area. This is what we do, replied the team leader. Keep working. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Franklin received good news. Captain, the Pelagian ship reports they've increased shield strength and are continuing to target the enemy engines. They're making progress. And our weapons? EVA team reports they'll have the port array back online in 5 minutes. Franklin allowed herself a small smile. Then we might just win this yet. The Vexillian ship was now clearly struggling. Its once precise attacks were becoming erratic, and its movements were slower. The combined assault from both the human and Pelagian vessels was taking its toll. They're powering up some kind of new weapon, the science officer reported suddenly. Energy readings are off the charts. A bright green glow began to build at the front of the enemy vessel. Whatever they were charging, It looked powerful enough to destroy either ship with one hit. Evasive maneuvers, Franklin ordered. All power to shields. But before the Vexillian ship could fire its superweapon, a series of explosions rippled across its hull. The Pelagian attacks had finally breached its engine containment field. The green glow faded as the enemy ship lost power. "They're disabled," the tactical officer reported with disbelief in his voice. "Their main power is offline." A cheer went up on the bridge of the Intrepid. They had survived against impossible odds using nothing but improvisation and determination. Captain Franklin opened a channel to the Pelagian ship. "Admiral, I believe we've won the day." "Indeed, Captain," Kraz Thorne replied, his voice translator, conveying a new tone of respect. "Thanks to human ingenuity, your approach to repairs during battle is unorthodox but undeniably effective." Franklin smiled. "Sometimes unorthodox is exactly what you need." 3 days after the battle, the Intrepid and the Pelagian diplomatic vessel orbited Earth together. Both ships now bore the marks of combat and hasty repairs, but they had survived. From the observation deck, Alan West could see the blue planet below, peaceful and unaware of how close they had come to a very different first contact. "It's quite beautiful," Admiral Krazithorn said, standing beside him. The alien leader had visited the human ship to finalize diplomatic arrangements. "Yes, it is," Alan agreed. "Worth protecting." "Your people prove that," the Admiral said. His 4 eyes blinked slowly, one after another. A gesture Alan had learned meant thoughtful consideration. "The Confederacy has encountered many species, but none quite like humans." In the main conference room, Captain Franklin sat with Earth's diplomatic team, who had safely returned on the handshake once the danger passed. They were reviewing the terms of humanity's invitation to join the Galactic Confederacy. "The incident with the Vexillian ship was unfortunate," the lead human diplomat said, "but it seems to have accelerated the process." "Yes," Franklin replied. "Nothing builds trust like fixing someone's ship while under fire." Susan Miller stood in engineering, showing a group of Pelagian engineers the repair techniques that had saved both ships. The aliens crowded around her, their translator devices occasionally making small chirping sounds as they processed complex technical terms. "The key is adaptability," Susan explained, holding up one of the makeshift power couplings they had created. "We design our systems with repair in mind. Everything has a backup, and the backup has a backup. But your backups are imperfect," one Pelagian noted, gesturing to the clearly jury-rigged device. "That's the point," Susan smiled. "They don't need to be perfect. They just need to work long enough." The alien engineers exchanged looks, their eye stalks swiveling toward each other. One of them eventually asked, "How do you plan for such imperfection?" "We don't plan the imperfection," Susan replied. "We plan for flexibility. Every human engineer knows that no plan survives first contact with reality." In another part of the ship, Chief Engineer Peterson was meeting with the Pelagian Chief Engineer, a tall alien with darker blue skin and elaborate markings on its tentacles. "We would like to propose an exchange program," the Pelagian said. "Some of our engineers could serve on human vessels and some of yours could serve on ours." Peterson nodded enthusiastically. "I think that's a fantastic idea. We have a lot to learn from each other." "Indeed," the alien agreed. "Your approach to battlefield repairs has caused quite a disruption in our engineering doctrine. The Confederacy High Command is already implementing what they call human repair protocols across the fleet." Peterson laughed. "Is that what they're calling it? We just call it fixing stuff." Later that day, Captain Franklin and Admiral Krazthorn stood in the ship's mess hall, where crew members from both vessels mingled freely. Humans and Pelagians sat together at tables comparing notes and sharing stories. "Your crew adapted to our presence quickly," the Admiral observed. "Adaptability seems to be our theme," Franklin replied with a small smile. "It's served us well, so far." "The Vexillian ship has been secured," Krazithorn informed her. "Their captain will face charges for violating Confederacy law by attacking a diplomatic mission. However, this incident highlights the ongoing tensions in this sector of space. Which is where we come in? Franklin asked. Precisely, the Admiral confirmed. The Confederacy values peaceful cooperation, but we face threats that require creative solutions. Your people have demonstrated a unique approach to solving problems under pressure. Franklin watched as a human engineer showed a group of Pelagians how to play cards, using makeshift tokens as gambling chips. We've had plenty of practice. Earth has never been particularly peaceful. Yet you've survived and thrived, Krasithorn noted. The Confederacy believes humanity will bring valuable perspectives to our alliance. The next morning, a ceremony was held on the Intrepid's flight deck. Both crews gathered as Admiral Krasithorn formally presented Captain Franklin with the Confederacy's highest engineering honor, a crystalline object that changed colors as it caught the light. In recognition of exceptional ingenuity and courage, the Admiral announced, the first time this honor has been bestowed upon a non-member species. Franklin accepted the award with grace, but she quickly redirected the attention. This belongs to my engineering teams, she said, gesturing to Susan, Peterson, and the others who had worked tirelessly during the battle. They're the real heroes here. The Admiral's mouth tentacles formed what humans had learned was the Pelagian equivalent of a smile. The award recognizes not just individuals, but the human approach to problem-solving. Your willingness to attempt repairs that our protocols deemed impossible saved both our ships and crews. After the ceremony, preparations began for the Intrepid's return to Earth. The first official human delegation would follow on the diplomatic vessel, beginning the process of joining the Confederacy. In engineering, Susan supervised the installation of several Pelagian technological upgrades, gifts from the grateful aliens. This power distribution system is incredible, she told Peterson as they examined the glowing pathways. It's at least 100 years ahead of our technology, Peterson nodded. And yet, when it was damaged, they couldn't repair it under pressure. There's a lesson there. Maybe we'll meet somewhere in the middle, Susan suggested. Their advanced technology with our repair protocols. The best of both worlds, Peterson agreed. On the bridge, Captain Franklin stood with Alan, watching Earth grow larger in the view screen as they prepared to enter orbit. The Pelagian ship would remain in high orbit as a gesture of good faith during the diplomatic process. Do you think we're ready for this? Alan asked quietly. Joining a galactic community? Franklin considered the question. A week ago, I might have had doubts. But we've already faced our first crisis and came through it. We've proven we have something valuable to offer. Our ability to fix things on the fly? Alan smiled. That, and our perspective, Franklin replied. The Admiral told me the Confederacy's engineering doctrine hasn't changed in over 300 years. They've become set in their ways. And then humans show up and start duct taping their quantum shield generators. Alan laughed. Exactly, Franklin said. Sometimes the oldest wisdom is still the best. If it's stupid but works, it isn't stupid. As the Intrepid entered Earth's atmosphere, both Captain Franklin and Admiral Krasithorn knew this was just the beginning. Humanity was about to join a much larger community, bringing with them their unique approach to problems. An approach that had already saved lives and changed alien thinking. The stars would never look quite the same again, not to humans or to the Pelagians who had witnessed human ingenuity firsthand. A new chapter was beginning, one where the ability to adapt, to repair, and to overcome would prove just as valuable among the stars as it had on Earth. In his final report to Confederacy, High Command Admiral Krasithorn wrote, "The humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. After witnessing their engineers repair our vessel during battle, I believe this simple phrase may be the key to understanding their species. They do not see problems as insurmountable obstacles, but as challenges to be overcome through creativity and determination. The Confederacy would be wise to learn this lesson well,